Over the past century and a half, behavioral science has produced thousands of studies, specialized clinical tools, and distinct therapeutic models. Yet, across all those domains, the discipline has failed to produce a single, unified, foundational framework. This table documents a literature trail spanning 60 years, recording a self-diagnosed crisis. Leading academics repeatedly note a lack of shared ontology, describing the discipline as pre-paradigmatic, a chaos of competing methodologies. Foundational figures like Paul Meehl identified the core structural flaw. These theories are soft. Because they lack a closed logical system, they are never truly refuted. They merely fade away. This chart highlights historical critiques, including one from 1969, when APA President George Miller warned that the science was hoarding knowledge in the laboratory. He issued a mandate: give psychology away to the people. Instead, academia responded by building narrower silos. Complex, insular citation networks formed, and researchers framed this fragmentation as healthy pluralism, which raises a specific question. Why is the first structurally unified, elemental framework for behavior coming from a practitioner outside institutional walls? The academic system rewards hyperspecialization and isolated funding. It incentivizes teasing variables apart rather than synthesizing a foundation the public can actually use. Imagine navigating a massive international airport. The security lines, baggage claims, and concourses are highly engineered, specialized systems. Now, watch what happens if the digital signs suddenly black out. Without the basic element of shared communication, the specialized infrastructure collapses into confusion. Behavioral science mirrors this airport. It has highly engineered therapies and subtheories, but it completely lacks a foundational alphabet. Hard sciences operate on irreducible building blocks. Mathematics utilizes basic arithmetic. Biology relies on DNA. They build complexity from a proven elemental base. Without that elemental base, behavioral science remains pre-paradigmatic. You cannot systematically teach a framework to the public if the experts cannot agree on its basic components. The solution to this didn't emerge from a laboratory trial. It surfaced from 20 years of applied observation, diagnosing and steering human action in the real world. To work, this solution has to meet two strict requirements. It must be simple enough for a middle schooler to grasp and structurally rigorous enough to withstand formal falsification by a PhD. Achieving that means abandoning the academic habit of endless splitting. Researchers must instead embrace elemental abstraction. For decades, the dominant academic methodology has been to tease behavioral phenomena apart, separating human experience into increasingly granular categories. Researchers trapped themselves by splitting concepts into rigid binaries. They argued nature versus nurture, or system 1 versus system 2. Instead of clarity, this yields chaos, generating thousands of floating fragments that cannot be reassembled. The necessary scientific antidote to this fragmentation is abstraction. Abstraction requires zooming out. Instead of splitting hairs over minor descriptive differences, you group phenomena by their core functional equivalents. Take habits and skills. The literature often separates them, but structurally they are identical. They are both simply shaped behaviors cultivated over time. Or consider thought. Pure, computer-like rationality and highly irrational personal narratives both serve the exact same function. Behaviorally, they operate under the single umbrella of cognition. By abstracting upward to first principles, thousands of competing subtheories cleanly collapse into a few irreducible building blocks. The first major, semi-permanent force that drives human action is internal cognition. This diagram illustrates human cognition. We rely predominantly on internal narratives and meaning-making. Wrapping around that internal state is the second elemental component, the actual, observable actions we take, including our habits and skills. The third force dictating action is the environment. From a behavioral perspective, the environment is not just the room you are in. The physical body itself, like sleep debt or a drop in blood sugar, acts as the most proximate stimulus. We have three distinct rings. What force actually connects and regulates them? The fourth and final elements are emotions and feelings, acting as variable membranes bridging the system, pulling data from the environment into thought and action. These four elements do not operate in a straight line. They function together as a dynamic, bidirectional reverberation loop. We share a physical ecosystem, but because your internal narratives and embodied variables are exclusively yours, you operate within a deeply unique behavior ecosystem. When mapped together, these 4 domains leave no behavioral data point unaccounted for. They represent the irreducible foundation required to model any human action, from a simple reflex to a lifelong habit. A unified theory is only valuable if it moves beyond describing behavior to provide a functional mechanism for intentional self-regulation. The operational engine designed to steer this system toward goals is the P.A.R.R. methodology: plan, act, record, and reassess. This structured feedback loop systematically adjusts the variables within the ecosystem. It aligns your daily, short-term actions with your long-term objectives. This protocol democratizes behavioral literacy. It takes the empirical power of the scientific method and puts it directly into the hands of the end user. By pairing the structural map of the behavior ecosystem with the operational compass of P.A.R.R, the field finally fulfills its original mandate, giving psychology away to the people. But for the academic community, utility is not enough. The ultimate standard is structural falsifiability. This chart contrasts Meehl's critique of soft psychology with the unified behavior model's published refutation protocol. The model moves past description to issue a direct, logically testable challenge. The rules of the no fifth element challenge are strict. Propose any behavioral determinant and prove it cannot be mapped into one of these 4 existing domains without losing its meaning. Take popular academic constructs like motivation, identity, or culture. Under scrutiny, they inevitably abstract perfectly into external environment, internal stories, or raw emotion. As philosopher of science Karl Popper established, this type of systematic, closed-loop oversimplification is not a flaw. It is the exact defining hallmark of true hard science. Until a verified 5th element is proven to exist, this 4-domain structure stands as the minimal sufficiency of human behavior. The puzzle is no longer thousands of fragmented pieces. The elemental alphabet has been mapped, establishing a unified, functional foundation for behavioral science.